is a difficult question. What's proof of anything? What would you take as proof that anything exists? Because these are questions that have been going on for thousands of years, and great minds have been addressing these issues. So when we define our terms as to how to prove something, including how to prove God or anything else, the first thing is that a person accepts is that seeing is believing. Prove that something happened. If you witnessed it with your own eyes, your ears, you tasted it, you smelled it, you touched it, you know that that's real. True, the senses could be deceived, but it's our first level of proof of anything. This is also true regarding if you didn't see it, but she saw it. So you're still relying on the proof from observation, but it's somebody else's observation. You may want to demonstrate to yourself that this person is an honest person. You may want to ask if somebody else observed the same thing. You might want to know that the two people that observed it are not related to each other. You will want to know how close their stories match, and so on. Now this is the way science also works. Science works on two concepts. One is data, which is basically observation, recorded observations, but it's observation. And the other is causal reasoning, reasoning from effect to cause, that everything that happens has a reason why it happens that way, or how it came to be that way. With these two principles, all scientific investigation goes on. They come with an idea, they will later test the idea, but the basic principles are observe and reason. So these methods will lead us, only using these methods will lead us to understanding that God surely exists. I'll give you an example. First we have to understand that reasoning from effect to cause is such a strong belief that we have as human beings, a correctly held belief, that we will even believe in something which is invisible and cannot be observed in principle. For example, we have light emanating from the light bulbs here. We believe that there's electricity that's running there, and the fan that's here in the room is also operating on electricity. We believe that there's one common source which is invisible and actually cannot be observed. No one has ever observed electricity. What you could do is observe current by putting a voltmeter. You'll see a needle move, but these are indirect observations. The electron itself has never been observed really directly. Electricity is the potential difference between one area and another. And yet, even though it's not observable, we all believe it exists, and we see how it works. We see the effects of it, and we infer that there is such a force. So the scientific method could lead you to believe in something which is invisible. That's not a problem for science. It could lead you to believe something which is illogical. For example, gravity. What's illogical about gravity? We want to believe in science, as scientists, that when something affects another thing, there's something in between them that carries it. So, if something fell, you assume that there was wind or an object that knocked it over. Or with sound, there was a loud noise over there, and there was some impact over there. We expect that there's some sound waves or something, and they will be detected, these sound waves. But with gravity, there's no wave, there's no particle. The only evidence we have of the force of gravity is that objects move. Then you let go of something, it falls. The force itself cannot be measured at all. We only measure the motion of objects. And the theories of gravity have been so divergent and from one extreme to another, and none of them are actually quite rational. So we can believe in something that is not observable, and we can believe in something that is, in a sense, absurd, because no connection between things, and yet they're responding as if they're connected. And we just accept it, because cause and effect makes sense. And the third level, as the Rebbe brings the example, is with one of Einstein's theories of relativity that led to his equation of the equivalence of matter and energy, E equals mc squared. That a physical object is actually just a form of condensed energy. And that if you apply the right forces to any physical object, it will release absolutely immense amounts of energy. Not like burning something which just breaks some chemical bonds and doesn't destroy any matter. When you actually destroy matter, or split the atom, which destroys a little bit of matter, or combine atoms, which also destroys a little bit of matter, you release absolutely immense amounts of energy. Similarly, you could take energy with the right technology and convert it into physical substance, as they've already been showing that they can do. Now, this whole theory that something like light and something like wood are really the same stuff is also totally against our reasoning. So, since we already see by science that can prove that which is, it can demonstrate that which is invisible, that which is absurd, that which is counterintuitive, when it comes to try and demonstrate the existence of God, it shouldn't bother us as long as the scientific method is applied, whether God is an invisible or an absurd or an illogical or totally beyond their thinking. Science is ready to accept such entities. We don't want to change the rules in the middle of the game. To make very short, and just to limit it to, so if you take a look at a factory, which is an automated factory, the Rebbe uses this example, you won't say that there's no cause behind the organization of all the parts. In fact, the less you'll see somebody working in the factory, the more sure that you'll be that there is some mind behind it. All the raw materials are coming in conveyor belts. All the machines are jumping up and down and stamping. At one end is coming in some steel and some plastic and some paint and some this and some that. At the other end is rolling out a car. Nobody would say this is accidental. They would say this is amazing. Same thing as if you will take a look at a natural factory. A leaf, for example. Nobody will say, sorry, let's take a look what's happening with a leaf. There's nutrients coming up from the soil, sunlight is coming in, carbon dioxide from the air, and water, and they're all combining together to be synthesized for food for the plant. The plant grows. Does the sunlight tell the soil what it should be? Does the water tell the carbon dioxide, we need more of you now? These are all elements of the environment that are integrated. What is integrating this system? What is making it that the parts that don't really know of each other but interact are in some common project to be very finely tuned and working together? So using the same reasoning, to understand that there's something that's beyond the system that's controlling the parts. That's the argument from design. And if we take a look similarly at the tradition from Sinai, it's the same thing. But our proof that our religion is different is in essence that we have a public revelation, an unbroken chain of tradition. And unfortunately, though we don't have the time to go into it in detail, rationally speaking, if you wanted to demonstrate any event, you would use the principles we said at the beginning. How many observers, how diverse, with what potential for dissent among them, and how accurate is the tradition from then until now. Do we have divergent stories in China or in South America? Is the Torah different in its written or oral form in any of these places? And we find an amazing precision. In science, there's precision and accuracy. When you could be very precise in your testimony, you could be totally off base. But since we had a public revelation and an unbroken chain of tradition, and the precision is there, we have what's normally considered in science a clear and demonstrated proof, as all scientific proofs of events that cannot be replicated. We can't go back and redo Sinai. But that is the same with all data. Once it's observed, becomes integrated in the body of knowledge. So an honest person will then be able to take that and say, science doesn't contradict God. On the contrary, it helps demonstrate in the same manner as any other proof.